I want to quantify that. I don't want to say, and I know he said, I don't want to say he's getting better shape, and that's kind of being broad with it. What I think he's doing is he's trying to clean up his eating habits, and even when he's doing pretty decent job, he's trying to thinking that the cleaner he eats, the more maximum he'll get out of his body, and then the fresher he'll be, and the lighter he'll be. Because as you get older, you've seen almost everything now at this point in time. Having been the strongest guy in the weight room at your position group or what have you, it really doesn't matter anymore now. You got grown man strength. So now it's about staying healthy and being in the right places, right time, and being smooth in your reaction times and staying healthy throughout the process. And what are some of those things that you need to do that? And we've all gone through that progression as an older veteran, especially at the level that he's playing at. So it feels like if he was a half step faster, guess what? Man, he might be getting. And by the way, when you get to be a veteran, when you start losing a little bit of a speed, it really doesn't show up on film because you know now what you're supposed to look at.
Right.
So sometimes you still look even faster than you were when you're a youngster, but you had no idea what you were doing. You were just running around and just making plays. So, yeah, hats off to him. It was shocking. I don't know. There's a part of me, I think that's what draw people into Kevin Byard. Some of the things that I would probably do a little bit differently. I might have not have told people that I'm actually doing that. It's just me personally. He had to bring that out. I mean, nobody was thinking that he was looking like he was out of shape last year. So
Right.
I don't know what question they asked him that made him then go down this road. I mean, it might have been John Glennon, but made him go down this road. What did you do to try to improve this offseason? And maybe that's how it went down that road. But I don't know if I would have, shared that kind of detail like he went into, to all the fans and listeners and the media.
He went into vivid detail. We got to see a lot of 7-on-7 stuff today. They do a lot of the same stuff. It was interesting. There was one particular 7-on-7 period where it seemed like the defense broke up every pass that happened for. I was just writing down one guy after another, PBU, 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 PBU.
And it didn't matter what, what depth chart person you were out there. They were making plays all over the place. In a broad brush that, the defensive backs, linebackers were making plays on the football. They were making plays. And the defense is usually ahead of time. And, the offense is all about timing. Tannehill got a lot of new pieces out there. So, yeah, I was pleasantly not only impressed with that, but, just in general where the guys were at this time on both sides of the ball.
Yeah.
I was pleasantly, happy what I saw. Just when you look at the team, you just start saying, man, this is a well put together team. This is a good team. And that shows. And I think that's why you think that they got a shot to go really far and have a chance at the Super Bowl. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's what it looked like. Even depth guys that may or may not even make the roster, you go, man, that guy's pretty solid, man. Yeah. Worst case, practice squad, if they cut him and nobody picks him up, you can bring him back up and he won't miss a beat and be a depth guy. Mm-hmm.
Well, one of the guys, I was sitting with Terry McCormick and we were talking, and I looked up and Greg Maben made a play, and I'm like,
"Yep,
this guy, you just can't get rid of him.
Yeah.
He's just always around. There he's out there. He's back again. He's making a play.
Yeah, he looked good out there. He did.
I mean, he's what, 30, number 30. He was out there flying around everywhere. Just another one of those guys, and he played a role for them when they needed 91, 92, whatever the number was, people to get through the season last year. You would hope and pray they wouldn't need that many people again, but it's 17 games now, so it's uncharted territory. But if they don't have to go as deep in the pool as they did last year, to me that's encouraging because look how well they played. They were finding guys off the street, and they were coming in, and some started.
Yeah. I think Maben played a little bit. I think then he had a hammy issue, was it, or calf? Something like that.
Something happened. He came in and played, then he got hurt. Mm-hmm. But just another interesting name that kind of sticks around here and does things. Ryan Tannehill there. No Derrick Henry today. No Taylor Lewan today. No Bud Dupree today. Didn't see Nate Davis. Again, I have a roster somewhere with all these notes, but I don't have it. Big Jeff wasn't there again today. A lot of the same guys that missed last week, but you mentioned Kevin Byard being back today. Mm-hmm. One thing that we continue to see is some guys who are coming off knee surgery. Robert Woods, Caleb Farley, both out there doing a whole bunch of stuff. I mean, we can say this.
Well, they look like they were injured. I mean, I'm just gonna say that. I can say that, right? Well,
You can say that.
I already said it.
You can say it. It's fine now. But they wear a yellow jersey.
Hey, Robbie
they wear.
just text me if I say something that I cannot say.
I will know. Trust me. But they were both wearing a yellow jersey during any type of period where anybody could bump into each other. It's non-contact, so they don't have pads on. But they
did.
They wear a yellow jersey then. But like, if you just went out and watched Robert Woods, he does all the receiver drills in individual. Comes out, does everything. Every drill, every cone drill, every cut, everything, and you're like, that guy tore his ACL in November.
Remember, I told you he looked good on the sideline at the Super Bowl.
Yep.
He was walking around like nothing was wrong with him.
I remember you saying, because you're big, you can watch people walk.
Right. And
I know, Dr. Blaine. Hey, man, what's wrong with your foot
trying
today?
To assess if I'm going to attack it or not, to be all honest.
But you literally, after the Super Bowl, you're like, hey, man, Robert Woods is walking. He didn't even have a limp.
I went back and even watched just to make sure, but I knew it was him because, everybody talks about how he's such a great teammate. He was around, OBJ and some of the guys when they got injured. So he got to come into the screen and he was visible. And you knew exactly who it was. So that's how I remember him at the Super Bowl. Naturally, he wasn't playing. So, yeah, those guys were moving around well, even, with his brace on and everything else for protective measures. So I would say he's ahead of schedule. And Farley, I was impressed. You were telling me a little bit about last time they were, started practicing that he was moving around pretty well. He definitely looked like he's ready to rock and roll because he was even being aggressive out there, too, at times. And I'm like, wait, stop.
Hey, man, you don't have to win anything today.
Yeah, but he's practicing good habits. And if he's ready to rock and roll, let him go until he feels something's not right. So I was thoroughly impressed with those guys to a point that I thought even Robert Woods was more the one for me. I was like, maybe you just make him hold him back a little bit because he was going like nothing was, like, so I'm like, wow, they
Everybody heals differently.
Oh, what they do.
But this is still
sometimes you got to practice.
Hey,
this
man.
doesn't mean nothing. But I get him doing reps, but I would dial him back a little bit. Just not do every rep that you're supposed to, do because it's your turn to be up. And I get it. He's trying to get timing with his quarterback. He's that chain mover type guy, that's a precision route runner. Tannehill's, they're all quarterbacks are anal that they want you to at this spot. When I let it go, you better be there. So I get it. And he has that same competitive spirit. So I get it. But you need to have someone say you need to fight against yourself, at times, because I was that guy too. So I get it. It's hard. I mean, it's real hard, especially when you feel like you're out there being productive. Why? I'm not having any issues, so let's keep it going, push it to the limit. Well, today it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Tomorrow doesn't matter. But come August, it does matter.
I think I just saw Brett Batchelor walking down the hall of my roster. I'm going to take a break and go tackle him and get it back.
Uh-oh.
Joel Corry's going to join us next. He's former NFL AG. He knows contracts. We got lots of contract questions, money questions. Titans actually came into some money today.
Oh, I know. Oh, they're going to give us a new contract?
No, we don't see any of it.
Oh. Okay.
Somebody will, though.
They got cap space, though.
Well, they got some now.
Yeah, I know, Kyle.
Julio is out. He is officially cut. Yes, some of you are like, what y'all talking about? It's official today, June 1st. We'll get into all that and more coming up next on Blaine and Mickey. Blaine and Mickey, 104.5 The Zone. The business of the NFL is big business, and nobody knows all of that business like Mr. Joel Corry, who is kind enough to spend some time with us now at Joel Corry on Twitter, former NFL agent. You can catch a lot of his work with CBS Sports. Joel, how in the world are you doing on this beautiful Wednesday?
Well, I'm doing great. How are you guys doing?
Doing fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
The Titans' bank account got a little better today because of the Julio. We were talking about this in the first segment, and people were like, wait, didn't they cut him months ago? Well, yeah, they told him they were going to cut him, but none of that became official until today. I know you've got
tomorrow. Actually, tomorrow.
Okay. Close of business today, so the cap hits tomorrow, or the cap money, in this case, the savings. But I know you can discuss that a little bit. You have an article coming out, I guess, about NFL teams who are going to be experiencing the same bump in finances, right, because of June 1 cuts?
Yes, that's correct. That's coming out on CBS sometime today. Now, for you guys, you have about $280 cap room. So with Julio, he had if you use a post-1 designation when you cut someone, that allows you to cut them before June 2nd. And teams get 2 of these guys each league year that they can use. They don't have to use 2 post-1 designations. But you have to carry the player's full cap number on the cap until June 2nd. And then on June 2nd, you get the cap savings. And how it works is you get to treat the guy like he was cut after June 1st, even though he was cut prior to that. And the big implication is any bonus proration from future years doesn't hit the cap this year. It's a cap charge next year. So in Julio's case, he's got a $14.313 million cap number. There's $2.8 million of bonus proration associated with 2022. He's got a $2 million salary guarantee that has no offset, so the Titans are stuck with that. So they're going to have a $4.8 million cap hit for him starting tomorrow and pick up $9.153 million of cap room. Next year, there's an $8.4 million cap charge for Julio.
What do you do with that much money? You think this is when we see them go after another offensive lineman, maybe go after another veteran receiver to try to bolster that room some?
Well, one thing you have to keep in mind is that come September 8th at midnight, the first day of the regular season, cap accounting changes. The top 51 players count at the beginning of the league year through that date, September 8th. After that point, everything counts.
Yeah.
So that can be anywhere from a $4 to $6 million swing in cap room lost. So part of that is going to go to getting through the season, so hopefully they don't have to restructure another contract. Part of the problem with Julio was that when you got him last year, you restructured his contract, which compounded the problem.
Yeah.
So that's one of the reasons why you have the dead money or the residual cap charge for Julio. Had you not done anything and left his contract alone, then you could have walked away from his contract with 0 cap charges.
Oh, you just sent a shudder down everybody's spine here. Joel Corry, our guest, former NFL agent, now with CBS Sports.
I guess, Joe, you know better than anybody with your back history. I guess give us some misnomers or some things that usually gets misunderstood about contracts or the salary cap that you always kind of get questions about, including us, of course, all the time, that kind of you want to get clarity on, that, you feel like people get confused.
Well, one question I get is how does signing bonus proration go with the acquiring team in a trade? No, that's a sunk cost for the original team. That signing bonus proration stays with the original team. Nothing you can do about it when a player is traded. And then some people get a little confused in what happens in a trade. You're acquiring the remainder of a player's contract. So if there are any salary guarantees left in the contract, they go to the new team. So you get whatever's left in that contract. And that kind of get more questions you think about stuff like that.
Yeah, more and more, I'm always hearing, does the salary cap really exist? If somebody said that to you, tell me how you would respond to that.
The salary cap exists. It's just a matter of how you want to manage it. And here's an example of why of it existing. Last year in the pandemic, when the salary cap went from $198.2 million to $182.5 million, yes, the Saints had to shed about $110 million of payroll, but they also cut players which could have been useful. The reason why Janoris Jenkins wasn't with the Saints was because of the cap drop, so they had to get rid of him. Emmanuel Sanders got released and went to the Bills because they had to get rid of him, and they had a big void at receiver last year, Michael Thomas being hurt the whole year, so they really could have used Emmanuel Sanders last year. So, yes, the salary cap is real. It keeps you from keeping some players that you want to keep. Also, if you have an excessive amount of dead money, that's a salary cap charge for players no longer on the roster. That means you have less cap room, workable cap room you can use to improve the roster for that particular year.
No doubt about it. Along with Joe Corry, he's done NFL contracts, salary cap, and been an agent as well as he worked for CBS Sports. I guess, down the road, Aaron Donald's going to get a contract. And how would you approach this from an organizational side and then from an agent side? Give us two different perspectives, because you could say he's great and he's done a lot of great things, but should he be quarterback type money at this point in his career, even though he's still probably the most dominant, if not, top 3 dominant defensive players in the National Football League?
Well, if I'm the agent, the one thing I didn't like is the way he's been couching things publicly. I'm at peace if I don't play. I only wanted to play 8 years. That's not going to inspire a team to want to pay you if you're thinking mindset 1 foot out the door. I suspect that a lot of that is banter related to him being dissatisfied with the contract, but I would have preferred him to say that, yeah, I'll play until they don't want me anymore in LA, as long as the money's right. Instead of I'm at peace, I'm done, and I'm okay. That implies he's okay if he doesn't get a new contract. Now, from the Rams standpoint, I'm not enthusiastic about paying him significant amounts of money knowing he could be a short-timer. And then the way it's going to be structured will be interesting. The big sticking point in this whole thing, if they get something done, which I suspect they will, is whether what's getting prorated is a fully guaranteed roster bonus or signing bonus. If it's a fully guaranteed roster bonus, it's getting prorated over the remainder of the contract or how many years are added to it. After 2022, the Rams can't go back and recapture money. As a signing bonus, they'd be entitled to get the prorated amounts back from the years he doesn't play. So that's going to be a big sticking point. He's not going to get quarterback money, because when you say quarterback money, I'm now thinking $40-45 million per year.
Yeah.
But the problem is Aaron Donald was the highest paid non-quarterback when he signed, the first $20 million per year non-quarterback. He's not even among the top 10 highest paid non-quarterbacks in the league now. He's got 3 years left on his contract, and you usually don't get a contract redone with 3 years. So the question is, how do you handle that? I would be surprised if they didn't get if they just added money to the existing 3 years, because teams don't do that. They don't just gratuitously give you money without getting something in return, additional years. And then the question is, are they going to rip it up and treat it like those 3 years don't exist? That typically doesn't happen. So there's probably going to be something like $60 million of new money added for 2 new years, and some of that $60 million gets allocated over the existing 3 years, and it goes from there. And that's a situation where they've had a lot of acrimony in the past with his contract negotiations. He held out after his 3rd year, didn't get a contract, won Defensive Player of the Year. So to me, he doesn't need to show up for training camp. Held out the next year, finally got paid. So I'm sure that dynamic factors into all this as well.
How much does him have it? I think he has a new agent with Kanye West and those guys, Donda Sports. Is this their first rodeo, or does that impact it at all?
Well, my understanding is that's just marketing.
Okay.
They're doing the marketing, and he kept his contract agent, Brian Irault, who is very aggressive in terms of being willing to push the envelope. The longest holdout for a rookie player under the rookie wage scale, which was implemented in 2011, was by Joey Bosa That's a Brian Iro client. He held out Aaron Donald twice. So if the money's not there, you're not going to see Aaron Donald. So I still think this retirement thing that was my first thought when it came up Super Bowl Sunday in the pregame with Rodney Harrison, that Aaron Donald's unhappy with his contract. That was just me being an agent. And I still think that's the case. I'll believe it when I see it if he retires. But if he does, then you can put him in the same category, premature or early retirements for Jim Brown or Barry Sanders.
We're on with Joel Corry, salary cap specialist.
Joel, should the Titans try to get something done with Jeffrey Simmons before the Aaron Donald deal so then you don't have some unbelievably unattainable number hanging out there, or do you think they don't care, they're just going to offer what they think Big Jeff is worth?
They probably don't care, but a rising tide lifts all boats. So if Aaron Donald gets to 30, it's going to help the interior defensive linemen, because right now there's a log jam. That nobody's been able to pass Aaron Donald's $22.5 million per year. And why I say a rising tide lifts all boats, look what's happened at the tight end market. You had George Kittle just put it way out there compared to where it was. Austin Hooper became the first tight end to get over $10 million per year on a multi-year deal. Then Kittle came in at 15 a couple of months later. And now you've got guys slotting in under Kittle, like most recently David Njoku, whose deal averages almost $14 million per year. Jonnu Smith's at 12.5. Hunter Henry's at 12.5. You got Dallas Goedert at 14.25. Mark Andrews at 14. So they were all able to get between where Austin Hooper was and where George Kittle is now because of Kittle putting some distance between the rest of the market. So I anticipate that would also happen with Jeffrey Simmons. I try to get him done sooner rather than later, because the longer you wait to pay great ascending talent, the more it's going to cost you in the long run. But the Titans have never paid a first-round pick who had their fifth-year option exercised after 3 seasons.
Whoa.
If you are Big Jeff's agent, he calls you today and says, Joel, you're too good on CBS. You got to start repping me. What's your number for Big Jeff?
Big Jeff is his own agent.
I know. I'm saying if he calls you and says, I want you to give me the big bucks, Joel.
Yeah, that way in case he calls me, I'll say I rep him. I'll take 2%.
I'm assuming Aaron Donald comes in at 30. And if Aaron Donald comes in at 30, I want 25 per year, that is.
I'd be trying to get that thing done sooner or later to not get to 25. Joel Corry, our guest here on Blaine and Mickey, at Joel Corry at Corry Joel rather on Twitter. It's his name's in reverse. You need to find him there for a bunch of good information.
Well, Joel, you got some.
If you go my name, first name, last name, it's a British DJ who's starting to make a big name for himself in electronic dance music. But that's not me.
But we like music too. We'll like both of you.
Well, as long as you're negotiating his contracts, I think you're all good.
Yeah, no doubt.
Now, we got a lot of guys whose contracts may get extended, and kind of take us through this. I guess we're talking about Kyler Murray, Cooper Kupp, Lamar, Debo. Where do you think we're at with some of these contracts, and will they get done? And if you do, what do you think their price range would be?
Well, the wide receiver market, as you know firsthand, has exploded, which is why A.J. Brown's Philadelphia Eagle. Cooper Kupp is taking a different tack than Aaron Donald. Aaron Donald's going to want every last dollar. Mm-hmm. Cooper Kupp, when OTA started, or the offseason workout program started, said he just wants what's fair, that he doesn't get caught up in being the highest paid. So it's conceivable that he could sign a deal which averages less than A.J. Brown. He's got 2 years left on his contract, although he can make a case he should be the highest paid guy after what he did last year. Yeah. That's not where his focus seems to be.
What is his per year, though, Joel, right now?
Right now, the base value is $15.75 million per year on a deal he signed in 2020.
Gotcha.
And right after he signed it, they had to adjust Robert Woods' deal because their production was comparable, and Woods was making like $7.5 a year, so they couldn't have that. But you're going to see Debo, assuming that he wants to be a 49er, that's probably going to get done, and I expect that to be more than A.J. Brown. The interesting thing with the receiver market is one agent controls most of it, and that's Corry Danby, who is A.J. Brown's agent, DK Metcalf's agent, also Deebo Samuel's agent, also represents Chris Godwin and Mike Williams, who signed for $20 million per year. Kyler Murray's been an interesting case because he's wanted to deal in the worst way. He's been extremely impatient because back in February, his agent was pushing for a deal and put out that all caps statement through social media. You usually don't go to the media, to me, until there's an impasse and it's a last resort. I thought that was a premature card to play. Murray showed up for OTAs today, which is a first. He'd been missing all the off-season workout program stuff. But the problem is this Deshaun Watson deal. That some quarterback, and he's probably going to insist upon it initially, I want a fully guaranteed contract like Deshaun Watson. And the Cardinals are one of the cash-poor teams in the NFL, so they can't really afford to do that. I expect it to be in the over $40 million per year. With more conventional guarantees, I don't think you get a fully guaranteed contract out of him. And then there's Lamar Jackson, who doesn't seem to be interested in negotiating a contract. The Ravens seem to be more interested than he is, and that's just a bizarre situation in and of itself.
Do you think – I think now people are saying it's not just his mother with Lamar, but it's also just his team, and I guess he has someone who actually negotiates his contract. Do you think that's an issue, or it's just strictly on it's Lamar who's kind of waiting to see how this all settles out? Maybe he's unhappy and just says, hey, I'll do this year, and if they franchise, I'll do one more year, and then I'll move on.
Oh, they'll franchise him twice. He's gonna if he wants to hit the open market, he's got to do what Kirk Cousins did, which is get franchised twice, and the third franchise tag would be so absorbent they probably wouldn't do it. But he's got all the complete information that by not trying to follow Josh Allen's lead last year, get a deal done after the third year, he's made money because the longer you wait for a good player that stays healthy, the more you're going to have to pay him. You got the $230 million basketball contract for Deshaun Watson. Aaron Rodgers is at $50 million per year. Who else is going to be the intervening event? Who's going to be in that stratosphere? Russell Wilson is the one guy I could see getting there. If Lamar really, really waits, then you're going to have Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert. They're not eligible to sign new deals until the 2022 regular season ends. But there's enough information now for him. If he could get the Deshaun Watson deal, which basically be more guaranteed money than in Steph Curry's contract or Giannis Antetokounmpo's contract, then pull the trigger.
No doubt about it. We're on with Joe Corry, former NFL agent. I guess lastly for me real quick, and that is, I know you have an article coming out about, the June 1st and everything else. Kind of give us a peekaboo behind the curtain before it comes out, some of the things you're going to be touching on.
Touching on Julio Jones being released and the cap implications for that. Landon Collins will be one of the guys mentioned. Austin Hooper, a post-G1 designation was used on him when the Browns released him. I expect that he's going to play a bigger role in your offense than you might anticipate because you got a rookie wide receiver on one side, Robert Woods coming off the knee injury. So if you get the Atlanta Austin Hooper that played in 2 Pro Bowls as a replacement player in the last 2 years, was catching over 70 passes for over 700 yards. I know you don't utilize a tight end in a run-ordered offense, but you may have to a little bit more than you have in the past. Then he could be a surprise.
Hey, on the way out, Derrick Henry not in camp, OTAs rather. He's off doing the stuff that he normally does, and we enjoy his video exploits. There's some speculation out there that his camp wants guaranteed money since he's out of it, that they might want some type of new contract situation. What do you think is the ultimate happening for that, or the Titans just let the next couple of years or the next year only play out? What do you think is the end game for this?
I would not touch Derrick Henry's contract under any circumstance. To me, it's fortunate he got injured because you guys are going to run that guy on the ground the way you used them before he hurt his foot. Running backs usually have diminishing returns after heavy usage. Unless he's the ultimate anomaly, then Derrick Henry, after the 4 years expire from his contract he signed when franchised, the 2 years left, I would not pay that guy big money. If he's going to be the anomaly, so be it, but I would wait until he's done after the 2 years, play it by ear, and go from there from the Titans.
What would you do if you were Derrick Henry's agent? Would you tell him just stay away, or how would you handle it?
Well, if he's willing to incur a $50,000 fine per day for not showing up in the training camp, by all means. Most players don't want to do that since the fines can no longer be forgiven.
Yeah.
And that's why when a player wants a contract like T.J. Watt last year, you had to hold in where they show up and just do work on the side and conditioning and don't participate in anything which puts them at real risk.
A hold in instead of a holdout. What a time to be alive. Joel, fantastic stuff, man. People need to follow you, CBS Sports. Of course, you got a great article coming out about June 1st cap savings. Always great stuff on your Twitter as well at Corry Joel. Tons of great info. Thank you, sir. Always good catching up with you.
All right, man. Be checking out your new
Thanks for having me,
tunes.
guys.
Yes, sir. Joel Corry. Yeah. You can follow Joel Corry for all the greatest DJ tunes and Corry Joel for all your latest NFL financial information. When we came back, the Titans offense does need to get off to faster starts. The OC weighed in on that today. It's next on Blaine and Mickey. If you are ready for something to end, typically the thing you would do is to do something to get that thing to end. Yet when it comes to hair loss, there's a lot of men and women who are experiencing that, and they don't do anything. Matter of fact, they do the opposite of anything. They try to hide it, or guys, you just wear a hat all the time, or you buzz your head, or, ladies, you might find a creative way to style your hair. Stop hiding the problem or running from the problem. As they say at PAI, just meet the problem head on. Just go today to PAI and come up with a plan to get your hair back and keep the hair that you've still got on your head. They do both of those things. You can go to WeGrowHair.com and you can literally see the amazing things they've done for men and women who are losing their hair. You can see real people and real results. WeGrowHair.com. And then you can call them and you can make an appointment. You can tell them I sent you. You'll be blown away by how nice they are and how they know their business. 615-376-6010. Call today. Keep your hair. Get back the hair that you've lost at PAI. Blaine and Mickey, 104.5 The Zone. So the Titans coordinator spoke this morning, and Todd Downing hit on a variety of subjects, as you would imagine Todd Downing would. One of the things was something we discussed a lot last year was not necessarily getting off to a fast start offensively. Titans offensive coordinator, among other subjects, weighed in on that today.
Did you want me to play some audio? Sorry.
Yeah, Bert, that would be the cue.
Yeah.
The audio that we teased. Thank you, Robert.
Man, I turned my headphones up, but I only heard you yelling.
Better turn them back down now. It's going to get loud when he plays it.
I missed what you did. Look, now I look like I'm really bad at my job.
Man.
I missed
man.
what you were looking for.
Oh, you were over there spacing. You were looking dead at us.
Yes, I teased that. And then this is a radio
And then we
tease.
talked about Dr. Hook, man.
I
and
know.
the
You were
break.
asking me about 70s rock,
I
but
got lost in the break.
I
Now,
don't think
Oh,
Dr.
man.
Hook can help the Titans offense,
Yeah,
but Todd Downing can if they get off to faster starts. And he spoke about that today. And it went a little something like this.
Yeah, definitely. You know, every aspect of our offense is something I'd take a critical look at for myself first, you know, where I can improve and areas that maybe I can do a better job in preparation or you know, understanding what we're trying to accomplish. And certainly the beginning of games is part of that, you know, and so we looked at that this offseason as a staff. And again, that was something that Tim was able to give a fresh set of eyes to. And you go through and some of it, you know, you realize you were this close to, you know, some really good outcomes. And then there are some where, you know, obviously we stubbed our toe. So we didn't do a good enough job early in games last year. I'm not hiding from that. I completely understand that as a piece of, you know, being able to start faster and put our defense in a better position. You know, so there's a lot that goes into that. And we'll be practicing that and looking at that as we go through the rest of the spring and into fall.
Fast start for this offense. That seemed to be an ongoing process that we would discuss of just them coming slow out of the gate. Also, you know, in the case of them maybe being a little predictable on first and second down, or a lot predictable of run Henry, or run Deontay Foreman and run Deontay Foreman, or run Dontrell Hilliard and Dontrell Hilliard, and then try to throw on third down. But
That sounds like, you know, 1980s high school. What you just said.
well, but it sure felt like that a lot, didn't it? And they did.
And be honest, it was working to a certain extent, and they just had no change up to offset it. I mean, I get your team is built this way, and this is what you do. But to me, every team has a weakness, and you should have been able to design, even if you were still running different types of running plays. They was running the same kind of running plays. So it made the jobs of the players actually much more difficult. So I'm interested to see if they can expand that offense. And that's really been my whole crux of what happened last year. It wasn't about the defense just playing great. It's just that the passing game sometimes can supplement the running game when the running game isn't working. Now, I get Vrabel and staff are all much more patient than me. But they are to a certain extent until the game gets out of hand. They feel like they can keep everything close to the vest if you run the football because you're, you know, controlling the clock. But at some point, it's about now deception. How about let's use the running game to set up the pass game? And I'm not saying every game, but just keep teams off balance every other series. Don't come out with the same game plan. So it's really kind of amazing that it did actually work to the extent that it did. And this is 2 years in a row now. So it's not like it's something new. They knew exactly what to get. And sometimes when we were playing teams who knew exactly how to stop it, it looked really bad. I mean, bad. And guess what? They went 2-5. And so, I mean, you say it looked bad, you know, I'm going to say half of those 5 games, 2.5 of those games, they looked really bad in the run game.
They'd be down 2 scores late in the third quarter or in the fourth. Handoff.
But then it would start working only because the defense there is saying, okay, we
run
need,
all your timeout.
Right. Yeah. Because now we want you to use the clock. See, and that's where I go, that's where you need to be throwing the ball because at least if you weren't completing them, the clock stops. Whereas you running the football, the clock keeps running.
They don't seem to have that thing where they just go bang, 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 4-yard pass, 2-yard pass, bubble screen.
You know, they do. They just don't do it. And then when they do it, it's not enough because they're like, oh, this is foreign language. We don't need to, we don't even hardly do this anymore. I mean, what the heck is this?
Foreign language.
That's like me trying to get back there and do what Bert does. No way.
Well, you could have beat what Bert did to start the segment.
Our offense started
but I
off
would have
a little
done it
slow,
back.
too.
I would have done it back to back to back.
Well, Bert should have hit the dump button and just got rid of all that, and people would have never even known he messed up.
Hey, look, you can hop back here. You know the dump button. He knows where it's at.
Oh, I don't know how to do anything. We're just animals who talk.
Where the dump button is.
Oh, I could have hit it on the phone out here.
By the way, Bert, all that stuff in there is new. Just let you know, like literally 3 months ago. And so when I walk in there going, dang, I wonder, man, I had no way I didn't try to answer the phones, have a conversation with us, and then, look at the screens and tweet out and do, man, I love multitasking, but this is kind of foreign territory for me. So, I'd have to really take some practice to get the hang of all of that.
Look, I'll try to make sure our offense starts a little quicker next time.
All right. Yeah, that's the best way to, approach it. And that's the only way you get wins, man. In our book, we're winners.
Yeah, get with it, Bert.
We like winning.
We want winners. We want Treylen Burks to practice a lot. And he weighed in today. He actually came over and spoke to the media. Let's hear from Treylen Burks. We'll do that next right here on Blaine and Mickey.
Man.
They're here, the NBA Finals. I'm legit excited about this, and here is your chance to score big on FanDuel Sportsbook during this time. So during the NBA Finals, FanDuel, they're going to give new customers $200 in free bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. You can bet the money line or player props, point spread, whatever you want to bet, you bet it. Plus, you can combine your bets for an even bigger payday with the same game parlay. I like Golden State in Game 1, I like Clay to hit a bunch of threes. I like Marcus Smart to hit the first bucket just to rile up the Golden State fans. But you sign up with the promo code Mickey. Find something that you like. Make your bet. If you haven't tried FanDuel, it's the perfect time to give it a shot because the only thing sweeter than watching the finals is cashing in on all the action. Again, that's promo code Mickey. Turn a $5 bet into $200 in free bets. Win or lose. Make every game feel like Game 7 with FanDuel Sportsbook, an official partner of the NBA. That's FanDuel. You do have to be 21 or older, present in Tennessee. First online real money wager, only $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued is non-withdrawable free bets that expire 14 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See full terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call Tennessee Redlining 1-800-889-9789.
Good afternoon. I'm Will Bowling. As a tribute to its namesake, the cover of Madden 23 video game will have one person on it, John Madden. The Hall of Fame coach passed away on December 28th. He will be on the cover of all 3 editions of this year's game, which will be released in August. It's the first time in over 2 decades that Madden will be the focal point of the cover, which has trended toward using current athletes in the past. After 8 years in the NFL, Steelers defensive end Stefan Tuitt announced his retirement this afternoon. The 29-year-old did not play during the 2021 season following the tragic death of his brother in a hit-and-run crash. During his tenure, Tuitt was a regular starter at defensive end in 6 of his 8 seasons in Pittsburgh. Tonight in the NHL, it's Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Final between the Rangers and the Lightning. The Lightning have not played since finishing their sweep of Florida on May 23rd, giving them 9 days between games. The Rangers, however, have been playing every other day since the start of the postseason, including the series finale win in Game 7 over the Hurricanes on Monday night. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Woo! It is 2:02 now on Wednesday. So you're halfway through the week. You didn't even have a Monday. I mean, this is basically, I don't know, it is Wednesday, but it's more like I guess it's like a Wednesday, but just work with me here, people. It's a short week. Enjoy it. Just dig into that. Titans, not a short week for them. They're on the practice field today. Blaine Bishop was out there. Actually got out and ran some with the ones. I was really impressed.
I did?
Yeah, I was really impressed with what you did at 7-on-7.
I ran with the ones media. I
was impressed when you and Byard got out there, and they said don't talk about stuff, but I thought you looked good in the nickel when you kind of came up to the line more like a linebacker. Especially the dime when you did that. Boy. Thought you made a nice stop on Hassan Haskins today. Of course, you
I was wondering why my knee was hurting right now, man. Why I got this knee sleeve on. Yeah, that's what happened, man. I tried to get out there and move a little too fast. Body says, no, can't do.
Your body is a wonderland. That's what John Mayer said.
Oh, yeah. It is. And it's wondering, what the heck am I doing? Out here running around here doing this. That time it's past. That's what it was wondering. And it said, I'm going to let you know you need to stop immediately.
There you go. Derek says the hitman coming out of retirement. Confirmed.
Man, you better stop that. That is not true.
What if we could have just gotten you out there for like 2 plays? What do you got for 2 plays? 2 plays.
I don't know. If we play cover 2, I could play corner. Cover 2.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I can get my hands on some people. That's about it.
Oh, I like that. I mean, you've been training people. Yeah. Work with your own son. You can go out there and run around with these guys.
Training people and then actually doing the actual act
yeah.
live. Matter of fact, when I say I could do 2 reps, it's at practice. It's not in the game. No way. Maybe I could be a free safety and you just got deep middle. See if I could go hash to hash.
One play deep middle.
Yeah, I could do that. I think.
I would love that, man.
Boy, I'd be looking like, boy, man. You gotta get out that. You gotta get out that back pedal, man. You gotta get up and go. Ride 'em, cowboy.
Defense did have a nice day. I found my roster. I told you I had this roster. I made all these
you
notes.
You don't look like you could run around the way you were running around trying to find your roster.
Oh, man, I ran like a mile and a half during the first break of the show, and I ate some ice cream before the show started, like 4 bites, because I'm violently lactose intolerant now. I mean, violent.
So you violently lactose intolerant?
I had 4 bites of ice cream.
Violently getting it out of your body?
No.
What do you mean now? Did it just start? You hadn't always been lactose intolerant?
I mean, I was tolerant of lactose, but apparently I was tolerant of its lifestyle and everything that it did. I've got no problem with anything. Hey, you live your life, lactose, and I'll live mine. The lactose I've been under siege. And it's funny. Like, I like cheese and I like milk and I like all this stuff.
Your body don't, huh?
I might as well.
Body, I like Brussels sprouts, but my body does not.
Well, I ate some Brussels. I told you. Your friend Zach Killer makes them good.
As soon as they come in, they go out.
It's like a tiny green cyclone that just blows through your colon, like
good for
crossing the Kansas farmland.
It's good for you.
But, man, I had like a giant milkshake somewhere in my family one night, and I'm slurping that thing down, and we met some friends of ours, and all of a sudden I leaned over to my wife, and I said, we have to get home now. And, I mean, we got home. I was sweating bullets. And and Blaine's handing me a tub of ice cream.
I got to get it. That's a question. Have you ever been somewhere where your stomach said, blip, 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 blip. I got to go. And it's like pronto
Yeah.
right now.
At Atlanta
and you're
Braves
at a
game.
location that you go, whether it was over, let's say, your wife's or girlfriend's house, your parents' house, or you're in the somewhere where the restaurant, and you're like, uh-oh, this is not good. I have no choice. You have to go. Man, that happened to me one time. And
At your in-laws' house or
I had to go at my wife's mama house. I had some Filipino food called lumpia or something crazy like that. And my stomach said, it yelled at me like, you MFer, what are you doing? I said, hey, I got to go. Is there another? Let me go to is the bathroom down in the lower level?
You had to hit him with that John Witherspoon. Y'all ain't going to want to come in here for about 30, 45
Yeah,
minutes.
and I said, I better make sure we got some spray up in there because this is coming out violently. Oh, my gosh. That was so embarrassing. I had to go. It was nothing I could do. I was like, oh, man, that food was good, but I cannot eat that. Man, you need to ask the people where they were in a spot that happened to them. And what food was it? Because sometimes it can be like, just that one occasion, it doesn't even matter. It'd be like, oh, man, that food never really bothered. Yeah. It got me. I mean, I was like cringing, started sweating, trying to hold it back. That level. It was unbelievable.
That's a different kind of sweat, too.
Yeah.
I've sweated that sweat.
Ooh.
Treylen Burks sweated that sweat.
Oh, man, it was the worst, man. It was
Treylen Burks is not sweating his rookie season so far. He is trying to learn his way around an NFL offense. So we had never talked to him since he got drafted. Today he finishes practicing, goes to Judge Machine, catches the best. Then he starts walking towards everybody. So all the media runs to him like a crowd. But you can kind of listen to this. He talks about getting some encouragement from his teammates. He talks about conditioning. Also, the idea of, because if you guys remember, he's kind of been going in and out of practice, in and out at times. Like you'll see him a little while, then you don't see him, then you see him. And I think it was John Glennon who initially reported at one point in his first practice, he saw him with an inhaler. He also got asked about that today. This is something we've been wondering about. Here is Treylen Burks after today's practice.
Your conditioning level kind of been where you thought it would be or where you want it to be?
It differs every now and then, but I'm just taking it one day at a time and just playing ball.
You had an inhaler out here the first day. Is that an allergy thing? You have asthma?
Well, I'll just keep that in-house and, just y'all can ask Coach Rabel about that.
What have teammates, how encouraging maybe have teammates been and what is each day like as far as you asking questions, people coming to you for it?
I would say the teammates are great. Every time I have a question or any other rookie have a question, they're very respectful, answer them, and, just stay on top of everything and keep holding us accountable.
So he was asked multiple times about the inhaler. He was asked there, then he was asked again later. Just another reporter, it was Joe Rexrode, I believe, asked him, is there any more details you can share? He said, no. I'll keep it in-house. You can ask Coach Vrabel. So, Bert, I think we have this as well, right? Vrabel was doing his media availability after practice today and just got asked point blank, like Treylen said about his inhaler or any kind of allergies, ask you. So this is what Mike Vrabel said when he was asked.
Treylen did ask us to ask you if we're wondering about the inhaler. He said ask the Braves about it. So anything you can add, Braves?
No. I think that some guys need inhalers. Carter used one before, and his brother didn't. So I don't know. I just rely on the trainer and our medical staff to try to take care of these guys and communicate with me. But I do feel like everybody here has gotten in better shape, and especially coming off the long weekend.
So that was it. It was just a real simple, no, anything, no. And Mike Vrabel is referencing his two sons, that one had used one and one had not used one, but didn't really give too much details or anything. I would assume this is the end of this now because he said ask the coach, and Kayla asked the coach, and he just said some people need them and some people don't. And is that the end of this finally for now, unless he comes back to training camp this fall and is still stepping out of drills?
So by the way, did he step out of drills? I was not there early on. Just I heard that might have been a one occasion.
There was one particular drill that I did not see him do. He did not leave the field. They did a cone type drill, and like two guys did it, and Burks just kind of went over to the other side. Like they'll go to the right and then they go back to the left, and two cycles for everybody. So they cycled to the right. He just kind of jogged over there and got in line again. They start back to the left. He jogs back over, gets back in the line. Then they go on to do the next stuff, and he's doing the next stuff. He did 7-on-7. We saw him do.
Yeah, I ain't seen him miss any plays.
Yeah, didn't see him miss any of that today. Yeah, I saw him not do one particular drill that they do twice.
In individuals.
Individuals. Yeah, the stuff that we can shoot and essentially say, this guy did this and this guy didn't do this. So
I'm not too concerned with that. I probably miss one of those once a week.
Okay.
Oh, dang, I forgot to take my ankle. Oh, my ankle don't feel so good right now. That's why I forgot, and then I should have got it. Yeah, for practice.
First 3 years, would you have missed any kind of a drill? First 3 years in the league, would you have missed anything?
I don't think.
First 4 years?
I don't know, man. I don't think I missed any drills. So they said, Blaine, go sit in the chair. Nah, I'm just real talk, man. I don't think I missed it. Now, we can say this. This is a different era. Now, I would have practiced hurt. I mean, so that's why I said I can understand Robert Woods and those guys.
Sure. Robert Woods is a proven
ACL,
veteran who's out there with the torn ACL, who is going like nothing you've ever seen before.
Yeah, he was. So I applaud him for that. But at the same time, I want to slow you down too. So no, I don't think I was trying to miss anything, any rep. Even if I was going half speed, I wasn't trying to miss it. Just because I gotta see it, feel it, and know what it's like, and I gotta make sure I'm in a position where I trust and communicate with my teammates to make sure we're on the same page.
Let's say in this case with Burks, let's just say he made all those pre-draft visits, and for people to understand, like you get on an airplane, you fly somewhere, and you eat probably a real nice dinner with them, and then you fly somewhere else the next couple of days, and you visit with them, and you probably eat a pretty nice dinner with them. So you're out of your complete regimen.
Right. Remember, this is what I said.
This is what you said from the beginning. It's
How
like
do these first rounders do it?
This guy just made however many visits everywhere, and then he's supposed to just jump right back in and be in football shape. Let's say this. Let's say whatever inhaler, yes or no, Mike Vrabel essentially said, yeah, some people use them, some people don't. If it's a conditioning issue, and everybody down there in the building knows it, when he gets ready to go away for the 5 weeks or whatever it is where they're essentially apart from each other, did they give him like
No.
this is these things?
No.
No.
Stop babysitting. Nah, this is big boy business. You figure it out. You come here out of shape, we will get you in shape. That will happen. Yeah. So if he doesn't understand the magnitude and doesn't know who he can go call a high school track coach there in Arkansas and say, hey, man, I want you to work on me out 3 or 4 days a week on a sprinter's, routine. And this is, hey, let's go to work. Be tough. Make sure I meet my times. You may not start where you want to be, but you better end where you want to be. So
some hills there too you could run.
Guess what? You can go do all that hunting, whether you want to do it in the morning or you want to do it at night. You can still get in your free time. Now this is your job. So, hey, man, you allot 3 hours of training.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the time is on you. So I get it beforehand because I've always wondered that, not knowing that I was never going to be a first-round pick. But some of those guys do come in a little out of shape because then after all the traveling, that's exhausting. And they just go sit on the couch and relax. Not that they're just trying to get out of shape. They may go play some basketball or something. They're still young, thinking they're in decent shape. But that's not football shape. You can't do football shape till you do football. Only thing can correlate is you can do track and then you'll be in shape with your heart rate, but that still ain't football.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That football thing is just violent bursts.
Right.
Yeah.
All the time. So I just think he
Like
understands now he's going to have to turn it up when he goes back.
Food
He
that
hasn't
you
really
ate.
had a chance
Violent
to
bursts.
go back. Violent burst.
Yeah,
just
you
like
had
I had
that.
a violent burst out my you-know-what.
I had that at a Braves game one time.
I was
Southwest
interested.
Chili Dog.
I can't
He
believe
got
nobody
me.
called in and chatted on that. They might have been embarrassed about it, too.
They wanted to hear Treylen Burks. We can get into that some more after this because coming up next, Jordan Dajani. There's a ton of NFL stories to get to, and we will get into all of them with Jordan Dajani next from CBS Sports.
I can't wait to hear
Let's talk about a little real estate story here. So if you listen to the story every day or you've heard me on the zone, you know I have a long history in real estate. And so people would say, hey, man, I want to buy a house. And first question I would ask them, most real estate agents, it's great. Are you pre-qualified? Well, if you don't know what that means, I'm talking to you. If you don't know what that means, you're not ready to buy a house. Pre-qualified means you've spoken to a loan originator, to a bank like the home loan expert, Ryan Kelly, and they have told you what you can afford to buy, what your monthly payment would be. You're approved to buy this much house. Well, if you weren't that, you couldn't get in the car with me and go look at houses. Now more than ever, as competitive it is, you have to be pre-qualified. You have to have a letter from the home loan expert that says, my clients can buy this house, right? They get submitted with your offer. So if you even are thinking about buying anytime within the next however long you can think of, get with the Ryan Kelly Home Loan Expert team today. Get pre-qualified and get ready to buy and make your strongest offer on the house. You can find him at thehomeloanexpert.com. Ryan Kelly, the Home Loan Expert, is a Tennessee residential mortgage licensee. Blaine and Mickey, 104.5 The Zone. It is Winning Wednesday with 104.5 The Zone and Ye Old Nashville Sounds. You can be caller number 5 for a chance to win 2 tickets to see the Nashville Sounds versus the Norfolk Tides game. That's next Wednesday, June 8th at First Horizon Park. Here's the number. Caller 5 gets them from our man Bert, 615-737-1045. You do want to win these tickets, and you do want to go to the game because nobody will entertain your butt for a night like the Nashville Sounds. Nobody will entertain you every Wednesday for roughly 17 minutes more than Jordan Dajani, who joins us now, our buddy who covers the NFL for CBS Sports. JD, what's going on with you, man? Are you still reveling in this fall's baseball regular season and tournament championship?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm very excited for this team. I mean, I feel like what we're watching is simply incredible. And I'm not that big of a baseball guy, but of course, being a UT guy, like I'm totally going to jump on this bandwagon. But it's all about Omaha, so really excited to see what this team could pull off.
Is Derrick Henry just completely back? There's a David Chow video. I don't know if you've seen it, the NFL doc guy. And he's basically proclaimed it's like Derrick Henry running up a hill and changing directions. And he basically starts the video with, "The king is back." Are you 100% ready to stake your CBS reputation that Derrick Henry is back again just to be the old king?
Man, first of all, I know this doesn't have anything to do with it, but I really enjoyed your coverage of Titans practice on Twitter. I was living vicariously through you because I couldn't be there. So great job on that.
No, thank you.
I have seen the video with Derrick Henry and the Pro Football Doc. Now, listen, I'm more 99% sure that he's going to be back as opposed to 100%. We've talked about that, right? I think Derrick Henry is just built differently. But in the video, I thought he brought up some good points just in terms of how Derrick Henry was running against the Bengals as opposed to what he's looked like in his workout videos. And it's been really interesting because the injury that he suffered can affect people differently. You know, it's something that I've argued basically with coworkers about as well. You know, some people have never been the same and they feel weird planting their foot basically for the rest of their lives. And then some other people kind of shake it off as if it was a broken toe basically. So knowing Derrick Henry and just seeing the kind of monster he is, if anyone can come back from this kind of injury, it's obviously him.
The Treylen Burks thing, Blaine and I were talking earlier. I feel like maybe it's put to bed. He got asked about an inhaler today a couple times after practice. We finally got to talk to him, and he said, I'm going to just leave that behind closed doors, and you can ask Mike Vrabel. So then he got asked again later by another reporter. He goes, I'm going to kind of stick with what I said earlier. I'm just going to leave that behind closed doors, and you can ask Mike Vrabel. So somebody asked Mike Vrabel, Kayla from News 2, and he goes, yeah, some people have inhalers. One of my son uses one doesn't. You know, there you go. It just feels like it's over now. Like, okay, yeah, what if he's using one? Let's just keep it moving.
Okay, I hope it is. And I'm glad you brought this up because, I've maintained that this is obviously not some big storyline. In fact, we actually just published something today on CBSSports.com for the first time about this situation. I really don't see it as some huge issue. But I looked at your video, and his response was kind of weird. He talked about his conditioning going it differs every now and then. I don't understand how conditioning necessarily does that. You know what I mean? Like, and here's the deal. Obviously, the Tennessee Titans, if this is solely a conditioning issue, they don't want to admit that, which I'm totally on board with. That's completely fine. But you have to find something else you can kind of stake your claim on, right? Something else that kind of explains what's going on. And I don't think it's weird to say, hey, I have either allergies or I'm working through some asthma. I used to deal with that as well. I grew up with an inhaler. I don't think it's weird to bring up something like that. I thought it was very strange when he said, I'm going to keep my reasoning behind the inhaler in-house.
Yes.
As opposed to just explaining, I need my inhaler, but don't worry. As the coaches say, I'm getting better every single day. This is a complete non-issue. I'm getting better. It's over and done with. So I thought it was interesting that he said, ask my head coach, and then the reporters ask the head coach, and the head coach doesn't offer any kind of explanation. So, again, I maintain this is not some crazy storyline, but I did find his reasoning, his comments, if you will, just a little bit strange on this fine Wednesday.
But to me, excuse me here, let me just add this. Are the Titans, the way they're handling this, helping or making this actually worse?
I'm leaning towards the latter. I think it's making it just a little bit worse, which is why I thought Mickey asked a good question about this being over and done with. I thought it was over and done with a couple days ago. I thought he was just going to get better. But, now that he was given a microphone and wanted to talk about his inhaler being in-house, I think that could obviously be a headline for any kind of outlet. So it's going to be something that we're going to continue to talk about. And that's the main reason why is because, he's still missing some reps, according to multiple reports.
He did today.
Yeah,
during individual period, yes.
Okay, so that's why it's going to continue to be talked about. So, the Titans are going to handle it the way they want to handle it, which is completely fine. That's up to them. But, yeah, I don't necessarily think it's beneficial. It's good. They're not putting the storyline to bed, if you will.
Yeah. Jordan Dajani, our guest, CBS Sports, at Jordan Dajani on Twitter. Same time every week. You can catch him here.
Well, something is not put to rest, and on a different front is the Watson and another woman, 23rd woman, added to the lawsuit, I guess based off her watching the HBO show and, her still wobbling on if she wanted to join or not. I mean, man, where do you see this ending really at some point? But, man, somehow, some way, I just feel like Sean Watson shouldn't even be able to touch the field here this season or next.
Yep. I've been telling you guys for, I guess, months now that, this situation is not close to being over with. And another woman adding her name to a civil lawsuit is a good reminder that obviously Deshaun Watson is not out of the woods just yet. And it's something that obviously the NFL doesn't want to see because they would rather have the situation be over and done with so that they can kind of move on and hand down a just and a righteous punishment against Deshaun Watson. But there's still so much to be figured out that it's obviously hard for the league to do so. That's at least my opinion. The NFL, of course, has not said anything like that, but it makes their job tougher in my mind, which is why I think it's possible we could get a suspension handed down, soon, and then maybe another suspension added depending on what happens with these civil trials. It's very interesting. Another thing I want to talk about, too, is once again, we have these two lawyers bickering, which is creating headlines in itself as well, which if I was Deshaun Watson is certainly something I don't want. And I'm sure the NFL doesn't want that either because it just brings more negative press to the league. So this situation, as I've mentioned, is not over and done with, and I really don't know when it will be because we still have several hearings to go.
Well, something that's also not done with the Browns organization. You just tell me, is there still a possibility that Baker Mayfield could actually be in uniform? Because if he doesn't show up for camp, they can fine him. So ultimately, unless they tell him to stay away, ultimately he may be in the fold, especially if Watson gets suspended and is out maybe 6 to 8 games or whatever it may be, as at worst case scenario, as a backup quarterback.
It's an interesting question, and I do appreciate you bringing it up. But, yeah, it's hard for me to believe that that's something that could happen. Again, this offseason has been more wild than any other NFL offseason in history. But at the same time, I just don't see that coming to fruition. I mean, when you look at their quarterback depth chart, I think there's a reason they went out there and got Jacoby Brissett. They also added former Volunteer Joshua Dobbs as well. So the Browns have been kind of preparing for this, and they've basically been preparing for Deshaun Watson's situation in every aspect this offseason, in my opinion. I mean, look how they orchestrated and created his contract, and look at the additions they made, as I mentioned, to the quarterback depth chart. So, I mean, what it really comes down to is when are they going to finally strike a deal with a team? And, I think it's very unlikely the Browns end up releasing Baker Mayfield. I feel like that's almost just taking an L. It's almost a win if they can just get anything for him and then have to eat a big chunk of change that he's due in 2022. So I think that's kind of a realization the front office has slowly been coming to over the past couple of weeks. And hopefully that means that we have something done sooner rather than later. And I think it'd be beneficial for both sides because we can stop, asking questions about Baker Mayfield, and the former number 1 overall pick in 2018 can also start get that, new change of scenery and really turn the page over and start a new chapter in his career.
Man, since, the Browns are going down this stinky road of poop, how about them just go sign Antonio Brown to a nice 1-year deal? And then guess what? They'll forget about the Mayfield-Watson deal because Antonio Brown will light up the media. So, I mean, do you think there's any possibility this guy's going to be playing anywhere?
Antonio Brown, I thought it was interesting that he said recently that he wouldn't be playing in 2022. I really thought like he had his sights set on that. So, that obviously took me aback and surprised me a little bit. But at the same time, I think it's very possible the bug could bite him again, and it's going to be something that he's going to work towards. And if Antonio Brown wants to return to the NFL, I would bet that there's several teams out there that would be interested in his services. Now, making a contract and how much money he would make and, what stipulations he would have to be under would be interesting to follow. But I know that if Antonio Brown said right now he wanted to play in the NFL, I'm sure teams would probably call his agent.
Well, with Jordan Dajani, NFL writer for CBS Sports.
So, Jordan, Colin Kaepernick got he got a workout from the Raiders, and then it just kind of got quiet after that. So what's good? He got a workout.
Was that a PR move?
I mean, they were trying. They had all those emails and John Gruden and everything, and then Colin Kaepernick gets a workout, and then everything just kind of disappears.
It's 5 years now, man. It's hard. That's hard to be out 5 years, bro.
Right. That's actually a great point by you, Mickey, because I was writing an article on John Gruden's work in the courts that day, and then an hour later it broke that Colin Kaepernick would be getting a tryout with the Raiders, which I found very interesting. But I mean, here's the thing. That's a huge step in the right direction for Colin Kaepernick, who's been trying to return to football, for years now. And I think he's made some, concessions behind the scenes in terms of accepting that his role might not be a starter in the NFL, which is obviously something probably everyone would agree with. As Blaine said, not playing football for 5 years is kind of a big deal, especially at the most important position. But Colin Kaepernick returning to football would obviously be a huge storyline. And like I said, he hasn't worked out for a team ever since he opted out of his contract with the 49ers years ago. So this was a big step in the right direction. It makes me wonder if there will be another team that works him out. If the Raiders kind of really started something here, and if there's another team out there that might be interested in adding a quarterback to their depth chart. But, with the Raiders and they're working out, it was kind of interesting because there's a lot of different analysts with a lot of different opinions. And, the Raiders They just gave Derek Carr a big extension. They just traded for Jarrett Stidham. They added Nick Mullins as well. Like, their quarterback depth chart is fairly solid right now. So I thought it was interesting. They were looking at adding another piece, especially someone who is obviously going to garner a lot of headlines. So we'll see. You're right. It definitely got quiet, but I don't think this story is over just yet.
So speaking of stories and speaking of the Raiders, you wrote a story, and I quote Jordan Dajani, CBS Sports, about 5 teams that could be better in 2022. And one of them is the Raiders. I would love for you to explain how in that division they made the playoffs and they could get even better.
Right. I mean, there's a reason that they're my number 5 way down on the list. But at the same time, this was a team that made the playoffs last year. They went 10-7, I believe. Was that right? I mean, it was pretty – I thought it said a lot that this team overcame so much adversity, similar to the Tennessee Titans, except more off-field noise to really rebound and make the postseason. I think adding Devontae Adams is obviously going to be huge, but I'm more excited about some of the things they did on defense with Chandler Jones. Rock Ya-Sin is going to be an immediate starter as well. Josh McDaniels is a very, very big wild card. We don't know if he's going to end up, being a great coach or if he's kind of going to flail out like he did in Denver. But I think you have to allow yourself an opportunity that even though this is the toughest division in the NFL, this team won 10 games last year and made the postseason. And guess what? I think everybody can admit that they objectively got better. But the other problem is their rivals also got better as well, which is why Vegas believes they're going to finish in last place in the division. It's very tough if we're talking about putting money on a win total. But I think we have to allow ourselves the opportunity that this Raiders team might be better than we anticipate in 2022.
Well, they lost their crackerjack backup, Marcus Mariota. He's in Atlanta now. Blaine is here, and Jordan Dajani is here. They're going to talk some more.
Well, since you're talking about teams, man, I'm interested to see any surprise team that you think can win the division.
Yeah, that's a good question. Maybe we should do an article on that as well.
Oh, come on, Blaine's writing these articles
now.
I'm
giving you material, man. It's just ask me anytime.
Small finder's fee. And I'm his agent, 100%. So I get part of that, yeah.
30%.
I heard you guys had Joel Corry on it. If he's representing you, then I don't want to enter negotiations.
We'll represent him.
No, we'll represent his musician buddy there,
Joel Corry. Yes.
Joel. I love that. I'll give you a couple teams that could be sleepers. I'm looking at the NFC East. I think this is going to be one of the more intriguing divisions in the NFL. If I had to put money on it right now, I'm obviously going to be leaning towards the Cowboys. I mean, they went 12-5 last year. It was their best campaign since 2016. But this team lost a lot at wide receiver, and we want to see how Dak Prescott kind of responds with that if some of these younger guys can really step up. To go along with that, I think the division as a whole got better. The team that I'm really looking at that could be a sleeper might be the Philadelphia Eagles. And I'm sure we've talked a lot about that with the addition of A.J. Brown. But I'm more excited about what they did on defense. I think that this defense is poised to take a really big step forward. And I've written about the Eagles a lot this offseason, and to be frank, I'm not exactly sold on Jalen Hurts as a franchise quarterback right now. But at the same time, we can admit that this could be his breakout season. So I think if you're trying to make money, this is the right time to kind of hop on that Philly bandwagon. Dallas has been known to disappoint in years past, and if they kind of let other teams hang around, we could see something like we saw a couple of years ago where the Washington football team won the division with the 7-10 record. So keep an eye on Philly. I think they can win 10 games this year, and who knows, that might be enough. Quickly, another team I really like is maybe the Minnesota Vikings. I really like Kevin O'Connell, the new head coach there in Minnesota. He was a guy I campaigned for to get the job instead of Ron Rivera with the Washington Commanders a couple of years ago. I think he's one of those stereotypical Washington former assistants that's going to, find success now that he's a lead man somewhere. The Green Bay Packers could be poised to take a step backwards. You look at that wide receiving core. At the same time, it's very hard to bet against Aaron Rodgers, but this Vikings team, in my opinion, should be improved. And who knows? They could give Green Bay a run for their money this upcoming season.
Well, we know this is a quarterback league. Mac Jones, going into his second season, he finished 22 TDs, 13 interceptions, but now he's going to be out without a coordinator. Regardless who it is, I'm assuming it's going to be Bill Belichick. Do you think this is going to help him or hurt him in his second season when usually you take that big leap in that second season?
That's a great question because, you're right. And this is a big storyline in the offseason, in my opinion, is the Patriots being very mum on what all their coaches' positions are. We don't know what the offensive line coach is, the offensive coordinator. They're kind of beating around the bush when it comes to those responsibilities. I will say this. A lot of people are down on New England's offseason with what they did in the draft and in free agency. But I'm kind of liking their wide receiving core just a little bit more this season. And I think that's very important when it comes to trying to predict how a young signal caller is going to continue to develop. Now, Bill Belichick's obviously one of the best coaches in NFL history. So that kind of leads me to believe that, Mac Jones made the Pro Bowl as an alternate, as a rookie last year. That was something I feel like a lot of people did not see coming. Adding Devontae Parker and a guy, Tyquan Thornton, by the way, who I really, really like. I had the opportunity to sit down with him a couple months ago before the draft. I think that this Patriots team is going to be solid. I don't know if they're going to have as sexy of a year as they did in 2021. Remember, they reeled off, 9 straight wins, and people were claiming they were Super Bowl dark horses. I'm not saying that. They're residing in a very tough division with the Miami Dolphins on the rise as well. But to answer your question, I think that I don't think it's fair to be down on the Patriots and the direction of their franchise and the development of their young quarterback just because we don't have much clarity on the responsibilities of the coaching staff.
Jordan, fantastic stuff as always. Hey, I'm going to ask a trivia question on the other side. I blew Blaine's mind, so I can't answer you, but you can guess on the way out. How many games do you think Dylan Radins played in last year for the Titans? Regular season games.
Oh, my goodness. 3.
Dude, you were close to what my guess was, which was 5.
Okay. Well, keep listening on the other side, and you will find out just how wrong you are, mi amigo. We were all wrong, but we'll have that next. And his own offensive coordinator will tell us all about him. Give us an update. How does that sound?
All right, sounds great. I'll be listening.
All right, thank you, Jordan.
I'm
Jordan
right there
Dajani,
with you.
every Wednesday, same time, same place. All that's coming up. How many games did Dylan Radins play in last year? It's not 3. And what did his OC say about him? That's all coming up next.
Not 5.
So, all of you weekend warriors at your house, what are you doing? You're always painting stuff and fixing stuff and patching stuff. Maybe this involves your deck or your fence or your patio, your driveway. You power wash it, right? You notice, gosh, the wood's rotten. Dang it, I got to paint it again. I got to replace these boards. You know, the fence you paid so much more, the deck. Maybe it's a problem with the patio, the concrete's cracking, the driveway, that kind of thing. Well, there's a product called EverSeal that solves your problems. 25-year manufacturer-backed warranty to seal, and I mean really seal, all of those outdoor services, masonry, wood, concrete, aggregate, all of it. So instead of being that guy who spends every weekend messing around with it, be the guy who spends every weekend just enjoying your life, or the gal, whoever is the driveway, fence, et cetera, keeper at your house. Maybe it's a group effort, but it can be no more effort if you'll just get EverSeal to come and seal it all and seal it forever. Again, 25-year manufacturer-backed guarantee. You can even pass that on if you sell the house. That's a pretty nice thing. Call them today. Get an estimate on all of it, 1-844-EVER-USA or ever-seal.com, EverSeal. Blaine and Mickey, 104.5 The Zone. So I blew Blaine's mind. I'll ask you, Bert. Now, Bert, you weren't here. You were in North Carolina. So the Titans had a second-round pick last year at a position of need, offensive line. They took a guy, Dylan Radin. Seems like a nice enough guy, but it's been a struggle for him to really play a lot, or apparently to even find a position,
or even dress,
sometimes.
That's according to me and you. How could we go? So you asked this question.
How many games do you think he played in? And that could be one special team snap, because there were some games where he was only special teams. One game he played 2 snaps, and the whole game they were both on special teams.
We just had on Jordan Dajani, who follows the team. How many games did he say?
He said 3.
And I said 5.
I feel like I'm playing Price is Right here. Like, I just got to go on the outside of you to get close enough to it. I know he only started one game, right? Just one start.
One start.
But you're even talking special teams. So I'm going to go ahead and say 10 games he played in.
Nobody would guess 10. Like, that's the highest guess I think anybody would say. He played in 12 games.
Oh, wow.
I didn't even think he dressed 12 games. I guess maybe I was only looking for him as a starter, or in the rotation. I don't even remember him dressing 12 games.
There were several games he played single-digit special team snaps only, but he played double-digit offensive line snaps in 3 games. The game he started against the 49ers.
Which he did a solid job.
He did. Against Indy, he played 19 snaps. In the second game against Indy, he played 19 snaps. It doesn't say if he played tackle or guard. And he played 22 snaps offensive line against the Chiefs in the game where the Titans just slapped them around in that game. The only other game that he played double-digit snaps on offense was, of course, San Francisco. He played 62 snaps. He played every snap in that game. People are weighing in on Zone TV chat and all saying it was one game, right? No, it was 12. He played in 12 games.
Yeah, and see, a lot of them probably aren't thinking about as a special team player.
Yep.
But I couldn't even recall him dressing. I really couldn't. I remember it was like, dang, did he dress? Nope. So that was only 5 games he didn't dress. So there was a possibility he could have gotten all those games, and I don't even recall him playing on special teams in the games that he dressed. I'm not even talking about the games when he got in at the end or played, 10, 12 snaps. I don't remember seeing him on special teams. It wasn't like I was looking for him because I wasn't assuming he wasn't even dressing.
And with those limited numbers, it could have been something as simple as I
would have bet some serious money too.
Extra point kick. I would have too. But 12 was the number. He remains a curiosity for so many people just because the Titans essentially won't commit to even him being a guard or a tackle. His offensive coordinator, Todd Downing, was asked today, and I think there was an exchange here about Dylan Radin. Who is he?
Yeah, I'm not going to pigeonhole Dylan to one spot or the other. I'm going to say that competition is a very healthy thing for a team like ours. We'll see who shakes out as the best 5. They're all working very hard to earn those spots.
Will it pigeonhole LeBron and Nate Davis and Ben Jones?
They've already, established themselves in spots. You know what I mean? So those guys have already, had, multiple starts at those positions. So
for continuity's sake, though, don't you need to pick that first 5 as soon as possible and let them start working together and get used to each other?
Yeah, I think that process will work itself out, as guys start to, edge in front of the pack at different positions. But that isn't something that has to happen today.
I understand
it differently about Dylan going forward into his second year than maybe you saw as a rookie?
Yeah, I think his approach has been, a little bit more mature. I think obviously he knows what to expect from the coaching staff, from the system, and so you see him a little bit more comfortable in certain jobs. But like I said, it's a good thing to have competition in that group, and I think there's some other guys that are, not going to go away quietly.
He was drafted to be the right tackle. I'm just curious why it's become such a poisonous idea that he would actually play right tackle, and such a huge compliment to him, so to speak, that he be this versatile guy. Like when you draft other guys to play positions and they play those positions, you don't say it's a bad thing. But with Dylan, it's a bad thing if he actually is tapped for a position, which makes it seem like he's simply not ready to play that position.
Yeah, you'd have to show me where I said it was a bad thing for him to play tackle for us, because I've never said that. I think Dylan is a guy that...
When you're saying pigeonhole would be a bad thing.
No, I'm saying I'm not going to say he's playing at one position or the other. There are a lot of positions on this offense open for competition right now. That's not a bad thing if Dylan goes and wins any job for us. I'm just excited to have him as a piece of the ingredients.
Second-round pick as a tackle, played in 12 games last year. No one seemed to know that. He started one game, and he was a tackle. He was a left tackle in that game because of the absence of Taylor Lewan. This is 2 years now where none of us seem to have a clue, and they will not commit to anybody being. It turned out to be David Questenberry last year. He's gone. This is second year in a row. We're ramping up towards the season, and no idea who the right tackle is for this team.
Well, to the coach's point, there is no sense of urgency. I think it's just because he went in the second round, it just feels like he should be defined now that a spot is actually open there at right tackle. Why isn't he slotted in there as the starting right tackle, at least to be competing there for the job? And I think that's where everybody's kind of questioning, well, if he goes that high. If he was a fifth-round pick, nobody's be saying
even talking about it.
Right, but it's because of that. And really, and I get it because I feel the same way. They put him at right tackle and let him grow and see what he's got. You know, I'm more big on chemistry, so put him there. If he doesn't work out, we got the backup plan.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. And then let's let it get the chemistry working with all the other guys. Especially he'll be working on the side with Nate Davis, right?
Yeah, which Nate Davis, haven't seen him in any of these OTAs, but I would just think I would want him there, like you said, just get every rep you can get for him. Right? You bring in a veteran guy if it doesn't work. Veteran guy who needs less reps to get ready.
That's what you drafted him to be.
Yeah, second round.
Who was second round this past season?
Short arms. Beans.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so see him getting reps.
McCreary. Oh, yeah.
So see him getting reps.
Yeah.
Oh, there's no doubt.
He will be getting some reps somewhere, that little rascal. Him and his tiny arms. All right, it's time for us to taking our tiny arms out of here. Wave goodbye with them for now. 3HLs.
I'm waving my pterodactyls.
Coming up next.
They said I was short arms too.
They're long enough.
But in the meantime.
In between time.
Peace. I got